What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the opinionated hippie, and this is part 23 of what I hope is a never-ending series of reviews and rankings of the Grateful Dead's Dave's Picks, an archival concert release series. Started a while back. They release about 4 a year. I think they're on 45 through 48 now or something. They're somewhere up there in like the upper 40s. This is number 23. That's why this is part 23. I'm going to talk about this. And then when I'm done, I will put up a screenshot of how I feel about all these so you can know where number 23 ranks amidst all the rest. Yeah, what we got here is a complete 1978 show from January 22nd, 1978, which, considering how incredibly good this show is, you're like, it's January 78, so, maybe technically that's still 1977. So there seems to be a little 77 hangover energy still here in the best way possible. And we do have one moment where I'm like, oh no, 78's back. You can feel the odd malaise, the odd just things not working out for some reason. But they quickly overcome that and right the ship. 3 discs, an incredibly short second disc with only 4 songs. But sequenced well. I like the way they broke it up. I think it was a good decision the way they did it. Obviously, they didn't interrupt any segues in the second set. And it's a really, really good high energy show. And I want to say Jerry is without a doubt the highlight of the show, especially in like the latter half of the second set. There is a moment or a series of moments or like maybe 45 straight minutes where it seems like Jerry Garcia never once stops soloing. Like even when people are singing, Jerry's just in the background, like doing. Just seems like he is like just at peak energy level here, giving it his all. And it's solid first set. First third of the second set is pretty solid. Latter half of the second set, latter 2/3 of the second set, actually the entire third disc, just to hit it out of the ballpark. I would say almost like a must-hear type disc. Disc 1 is the entirety of the first set. And I would say a good sign about how good this is, it opens up with the New Minglewood Blues, which normally I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm not a big fan of that song. But Jerry's guitar playing, the first chance he has a chance to solo, it's just like, okay, Jerry's in the show. Jerry's bringing the energy. This is a really, really good New Minglewood Blues. Everybody responds to Jerry's energy. It's kind of aggressive. It's kind of almost... There is a jagged energy to some of his playing in this. It is bluesy in the best, hard, kind of ugly blues way possible. Jerry's bringing it. Just absolutely awesome. Follows up with the Dire Wolf. Not one of my favorite songs. Pretty clear about how I don't like this song. But this is a good performance. Good energy. If you like this song, you're still in the show 100%. I kind of checked out when I heard this was a song. But by the end of it, I was like, okay, Jerry's still bringing it. The energy's still good. I'm okay with this. It's a good show. Cassidy follows. We're still not to that point we would be by the time when Brent joins, where I think Cassidy gets stretched out more and that jam becomes a little more sort of like amorphous and a little more amoebic and a little more just like all over the place. We're still kind of contained in a single lane instead of kind of all over the place. But it's got some good energy. It's a good third song. Peggy-O follows. I can hear all Peggy-O's forever. Pretty good Peggy-O. Not the best Peggy-O. I think there are some other better Peggy-O's, but the energy's still good. We get an El Paso. Get a Tennessee Jed. If one thing I've learned in listening to all these dick picks and Dave's picks, so back to back to back to back over the course of the past couple of years, don't ever count out a Tennessee Jed. I don't care how a show is going. Tennessee Jed's going to be entertaining. Tennessee Jed's going to bring it. Jerry likes this song. He likes this solo spot. This is one of those Tennessee Jeds, like all other Tennessee Jeds. Don't sleep on this, man. It's a good Tennessee Jed. We get a Jack Straw, really good Jack Straw, really good closing jam, really good energy in this Jack Straw. We get a Road Jimmy. I love me some Road Jimmy. Road Jimmy was a song I slept on probably like all through high school. And it wasn't until like, I think it was my second year in college, third year in college, we saw the Dead at RFK, that RFK show 91. They just tore down RFK, by the way. So rest in peace, RFK, which is why I remember this, because a friend of mine and I were talking, reminiscent about that show. And I I remember I know they released this as I think the second View from the Vault was the RFK show in 91. I still have not listened to that. I generally I don't think I've heard a complete show ever of any of the 100 plus that I saw of the Dead on purpose. I have memories of those shows. I have very distinct memories of those shows. I can tell you almost all of them, who I was with, the highlights of the show, blah, blah, blah. And there's so much Dead stuff out there that I don't need to seek out those shows to listen to them. I've heard songs from shows because they've released sort of like the 30 days or, 30 years or like different kind of mixes that have been out. And some of those songs have been, oh, I was at that show and I've heard those songs, but I don't think I've ever heard a complete show. So I've not yet heard that RFK show, but I remember that RFK show. The first 4 or 5 songs on paper looked ridiculously good. I think there was like a Cold Rain and Snow, Wang Dang Doodle, something else really good early on, but none of it was working. I just remember sitting there at the time going like, this should be a fantastic show, but it's not. But that Road Jimmy, I think it was like maybe there were 9 songs. I think it was 6, maybe. It was somewhere in the middle of it. That Road Jimmy turned that show around. And I just remember after the Road Jimmy ended, looking at my friend and being like, whoa, that's by far one of the best Road Jimmys I've ever heard, if not one of the best things I've ever heard. And from that point on, the show was fantastic. Again, I've yet to go back and listen to that show, so I don't know if my memory is accurate or if my memory was influenced by things that might have been in the air that got in my bloodstream or things that somehow got in my bloodstream otherwise. But yeah, I've been a huge Road Jimmy fan since that. I like this Road Jimmy. And then one of the greatest things that ever happened in the late 70s, the music never stopped. Gets introduced into the band. Bob writes a killer set closer. This is a good version. Really nice. Got that nice spacey part after the vocals where, things kind of float around and Jerry's all over the place and then they drop back into that dun 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 and then they jam out again before they finish the song. Yeah, just a really good music never stopped. Really, really good music never stopped. So yeah, good, solid, at times great first set. Second set, disc 2, 4 songs. This by far is, for me, the weakest part of the show, mainly because of the songs that are played. Opens up with the Bertha, and this is the one moment where it's like, oh, shoot. Sounds like we're in 78. Sounds like they're having a hard time with this. Things just kind of feel off for some reason. Like, I don't know what it is. The Bertha just, the tempo seemed like it either wasn't slow enough or wasn't fast enough and was kind of in between and things just weren't working. Then they go into Good Love, and I'm like, okay. We're just not in a good place right now. We're back into 78 energy, but the Good Lovin' is good. Good Lovin' it's good. Jerry's playing is good. Jerry's back in focus. The band is back in focus. Not a big fan of the song, but I have to admit, after the Good Lovin', I was like, okay, 78 energy is gone. Ship of Fools, pretty good Ship of Fools. Still not sure why they decided that third song, second set, which is I think where the majority of the Ship of Fools I have seen in my life ended up as. Don't know why this is the spot that this song ended up as. I mean, it's pretty much the same song with a Jerry solo every time. This is a song that as I get older, the lyrics just resonate with me much, much more than they did when I was younger. And I find more things in life to apply them to. So I enjoyed this song. I still am utterly confused as to why it's a second set song, why they put it there. Then we get a Samson and Delilah, which, it's a Samson and Delilah. It doesn't do much for me much anymore. But that's on me. But those are the 4 songs on disc 2. Then we get disc 3, which is Money, 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 Money from start to finish. And it's Jerry just being Jerry at his best. Opens up with the Terrapin Station. Might be my all-time favorite song. I made a video about that. This might be my favorite Dead song of all time. If you want to find out, watch that Dead video. Love this song. Again, we get all the Terrapin Station-ness. Pretty good transition in the middle into the actual Terrapin Station part. Nice little jam at the end. That goes into a drums, a pretty low-key drums. Starts off very kind of just low-key and simmering, and then the simmer kind of gets to a low boil, and you start to get, it goes on for what, like 8 minutes, and then you start to feel like, okay, they're definitely leaning into like the other one. You feel that other one energy. We don't get a fill base run with the bomb, but at some point when things really start to percolate and we're about to reach a full boil, everybody, just the entire band just hits that bah, and then we're just off into the other one. And I would say for this entire 17 minutes of other one, and then the almost 4 minutes of space that follows, I don't think Jerry stops soloing. He probably does during the verses, I'm sure, but it is just like Jerry, pedal to the metal, full blast going. We get a really nice sort of pre-first verse jam. We get the first verse, the second verse, the part between the first and the second. Again, we're kind of off at the same pace. Things eventually slow down. We don't quite get to full simmer action, but things get kind of low. And there's a point where it almost feels like there's a call back to the early drums, where the drums almost return to that same kind of simmering vibe. But Jerry's not having it. Jerry's just going as quickly as he can over it. And the rest of the band's like, nah, man, we just got to bring it down for a little bit just to calm down. But like, they kind of bring it down, but Jerry's just still going and going and going and going. They finally do the second verse. After the second verse, Jerry's just off going again. We don't get that immediate, like everybody drops out and we kind of figure out what's happening next. Jerry just keeps going, and he's going, and he's going. And it reaches a point where nobody else is there with him, and it's Jerry by himself. And they call it space, but I think almost all of it is just Jerry. It's like Jerry on guitar. He's messing around with the Close Encounters of the Third Kind theme. He's playing that little theme. I think he quotes it a couple times. He's messing around with that. I mean, he is just in top form. It's like he doesn't even know where the rest of the band is. He doesn't care where the rest of the band is. Jerry's just playing. Then what might be the single best moment of the entire show, he starts playing the intro to Saint Stephen by himself, just like the dun 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 dun, dun. And the rest of the band is like, oh, Jerry's playing Saint Stephen, and they jump right into it, and we're off in a fantastic Saint Stephen. Really nice ending to this, especially that ending goes into a Not Fade Away. We get a beautiful Not Fade Away where, again, any second Jerry has to solo, Jerry is just off soloing. He is just taken off, and it is absolutely fantastic. And again, the middle jam of this goes for quite a while, and it's pretty much just the band trying to keep up with Jerry the entire time. And it reaches a point towards like the middle. It's about a 15-minute Not Fade Away, and right towards like maybe the big jam in the middle is going on for quite a while, and then we start to go off in a weird direction. We're definitely getting away from a Not Fade Away vibe, going off into other places, and it's almost like, I think it's like Bob or Keith kind of step up and they're starting driving the play in, and it's almost like people are trying to nudge Jerry back into Not Fade Away territory, and the drummers come in, and it's kind of a really kind of forced like return to that like, Not Fade Away theme, but it works because Jerry's like, what, where are we going to? And then he finally gets back into the Not Fade Away theme. But it's just, I don't know. It's just one of those, it's like, there are times when you listen to the Dead and it's so magical that there is the phrase that is common in Dead circles, comes from Music Never Stopped, that the music played the band, right? That the music just took over and the band is just at the music is at the helm and the band is just doing whatever the music tells them to do, right? This is Jerry plays the band. They're just trying to keep up with Jerry. And like Jerry is like the lead dog in like a husky race, and like the rest of the dogs are trying to keep up, and the guy in the back who's trying to steer, I don't know what his name is, I know there's a technical name for that, he's like, all right, well, go this, we gotta try to go this way, and no, watch out, there's ice ahead, we gotta maybe go around this, right? And like the band is trying to direct Jerry back into certain places, and Jerry eventually obliges, he's a team player, but yeah, man, this is all Jerry, and it's just fantastic. And so we go back into Not Fade Away, then we go into Around and Around, and the Around and Around kind of doesn't work for me at first. It's slow, but at this weird, almost like that Bertha tempo where it's like, it's not slow enough, and it's not fast enough. It's in this weird mid-tempo, and Bob is definitely trying to like bring the energy down like in those like first verses, and he's definitely kind of like, and the drum was jumping, going right, to like it's the end of the song. And it almost feels like the more I listen to this, it's like Bob's like, "Hey guys, Jerry needs a rest. Can we just bring it down for a couple minutes so we can let Jerry like just catch his breath? Probably smoke a cigarette, unfortunately. We need to let Jerry do this so that when we get to that rave up at the end where all of a sudden we kick it into double time and we go off, Jerry is well rested and can finish the game strong, which Jerry doesn't necessarily oblige because every chance he gets a solo, he's just in full-on attack mode. But sure enough, by the time they reach that end jam, Jerry's ready to go. They finish the song strong. And I complain about Around and Around. I've been on record many times at saying I think it only works, or it works best, at the end of the first set. And I think that I wish that is where it had ended up, but it works well here just because Jerry is on it. The band seems to be listening to Jerry, and it's kind of what is needed especially after the other one, Space, St. Stephen, Not Fade Away, which is 20, like 40 plus minutes of just fantastic music. Then we get a US Blues for an encore. But yeah, it's a great 78 show. 78 is a oft maligned year. It is probably the first year as you go through the Dead. I don't think you would find complaints about any other year. Like I personally am not a big fan of 71, but that's because the songs are generally shorter and the jams are not as epic as they would be or as they were. But I like the year. I don't think there's problems with the year. It's just not one of my favorite. I like it better than most 78 shows. This was a show that was in circulation prior to being released. And people were like, "Hey, you think 78 is bad? You got to check out this show. This is one of the examples of a show that shows you 78 was not a bad year." This is a good show, people. I like it, especially that third disc. If you like the set list, it's a great, great show. If you don't like the set list, I think it's worth tracking down or finding or seeing if you can trade for it with somebody simply because of that third disc. That third disc is a almost perfect listen. Absolutely spectacular. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Dave's Picks number 23. And where would I rank it? I'm going to pause because I forgot to bring up my list first. I would rank it right there. Bumping this one all the way up to number 9. Might be a little recency bias there, but I really, really, really like this third disc. And I think Jerry's playing is just so ridiculously on point. Like it's up there pretty close to like just being one of the best Dave's picks. I think maybe that top 5 or 6 are really the cream of the crop. And then we kind of tail off, from there. Late November, I think, is when we start to tail off. But yeah, this is a really good show. I would say this is, at this point, out of the 23, it's definitely a top 10 Dave's Pick show. If you like some of the stuff in the first set that I don't like, or if you like the Ship of Fools or the Bertha's not very good, I don't think. But if you like Good Lovin' and Samson, I don't see why you wouldn't rank this any higher because the playing is spectacular throughout the whole thing. Everybody sounds great. The band sounds great. Phil has some ridiculous bass runs at some point in the second set. I think it's in the other one. Maybe it's in the Not Fade Away. I think it's the lead up to the Not Fade Away, and I forgot to mention this. Phil's has some just crazy bass runs right before they get to that first verse. Yeah, really good show. But I'm putting it at number 9 pretty much on the strength of that third disc, that latter 2/3 of that second set, which is just set list wise fantastic, performance wise fantastic, makes Around and Around sound absolutely excellent. Still really, really, really good show. One of those shows that's, hey, 78's not a complete loss, people. Check this one out. But yeah, that's all I got, people. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think about this show, 78, The Grateful Dead, whatever. You know how these things work. But thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, comment, share, and most importantly, go listen to music. Go listen to all the music, people. Because as a wise man once said, music is the best. That's right. All right. We're listening to a lot of Meghan Trainor in class this year. My class loves them some Meghan Trainor. I have to admit, man, pop music these days is not as bad as people say it is. Catchy as all can be. Anyways, that's it. That's my Megan Trainor rant, inspired by a bunch of 5 and 6 year olds. Thanks, y'all. Catch you next time. Peace. Stay warm. Take care.